G'day and welcome back to Rusty Inspirations. Today we are going to be fitting the reel and bed knife to our Supercut. So yet again we've got our exploded drawing. First of all we've got our reel, then we've got a little washer. This is a little piece that lets us get grease into the original greasable bearings. There's the grease nipple, our bearing housing, all the adjustment parts to adjust your reel to bed knife, the bearing, and a little washer. And then we've got our sprocket on this side and our fastening nut on this side. So I just wanted to go into a little bit more detail before we go putting this together. As you can see, this is the original greasable bearing. These are the new sealed bearings. Again, like I did on the rear roller, I have blanked off the grease nipple. So how that would have worked is you would have put your grease gun on here. The grease would have came out this hole, greased that bearing, then this washer would have caused a bit of a seal on there, and once that grease weeped out there, it would be fully greased. Whereas if you didn't have that washer, you would end up just pushing the grease all out this hole, which would have come out here and all around this. It wouldn't have tightly pack the grease in the bearing. Up to you whether you run the washer or not. I think I might run it after a little bit more thought. It's obviously been factored in with the width of that. Not that it's going to make a whole lot of difference, so I will run them washers. As you can see, that sort of runs around there. Now this number 11, I'm pretty sure corresponds to this number 11 here. When it was all cleaned up, that was clearly a stamp number 11 with the same stamp. I don't know what the numbers mean, but I'm pretty damn certain that it means that this bearing carrier is made to fit the tolerance of this side here. So not sure if anyone else has come across that, but that's what I'm led to believe. It's too much of a coincidence that there was a number 11 on both of them, so let me know what you'll think. Another thing, looking back now, I reckon I'm going to have a little bit of trouble getting that in here now that this is done up. Looking back, I probably should have put the bed knife in when I fastened these up, because they're kind of doing the same sort of thing, if you know what I mean. Worst case, we'll crack these off and we'll get it in there one way or another. All right, I think we'll flip this upside down. Well, it just goes to show how well these are made. I've just had a test run here. Everything's still bolted up tight. And have a look at that. That's going to go in with no dramas whatsoever. Now I'd also like to add that on the later model Supercuts, there was actually 3 bolts fastening the sole plate to the frame. Now I don't know for a fact, but I'm pretty certain that they both swap out either way. Again, stainless bolts, so we want to put some never C's on them. Spring washers followed by our nut. Again, as we spoke about in our last video, we don't want any impact drives or power tools when we're doing up stainless steel fasteners. They're prone to galling up and you're not going to have a fun time getting it undone again. Ask me how I know. Well, that actually went a lot better than I intended. I really thought that I wasn't going to get that in without backing these off, but absolutely perfect. Another interesting thing about the Supercuts is we can put our drive on either side of the reel, which allows us to reverse the reel. I assume that as you use it, you get that bit of a lip on the back. You just flip it around and you've got a nice naturally sharp cutting edge again. I can also feel that there's an edge on here at the moment that is a little bit sharper than the other. I assume it's just the direction of which it was ground. So obviously we're going to make that our cutting edge. Can't see it on camera, but you can definitely feel it. So that would be the right way there. So we want this to be our drive side. All right, I guess we'll go over the order of this quickly. So this is all to do with our reel to bed knife adjustment. So obviously that's your adjustment there. And then this piece with the spring is what would lock it in place. So there's a thread inside there. Do that up tight and that would hold everything locked in place. All right, so got our washer. Make sure this is free of oil. Old broken bearing carrier. Use that to make sure everything's running smooth. Put our drive sprocket on. Now I'm just going to do that up by hand for now, and I'll tighten that up when it's in the machine. Same deal on the other side. Make sure everything's spinning, not fouling anything. Now this nut, we're going to have to do up now because you're not going to be able to get it when it's in the machine because it has this piece over the top of it. So we're going to rattle that up. Actually, before we do that, I'm going to put a bit of Never Seas on here. Just to leave it up, and I'm going to put a bit on this end here as well. Left-hand threads on the reel as well. I believe they're the only left-handed thread on the whole machine. I'll confirm that later, but I'm pretty sure that's the only ones. Haven't gone crazy tight with it, but you want to be sure that it's not going to come undone. This is going a little bit too smoothly. All right, now it's time to lift this into place, but I've just made a discovery. Glad we didn't tighten that up, because that needs to go on after it is fitted, because it's not going to fit through there. So tighten the non-drive side up and do not put the drive sprocket on. Right, now I've decided to put this up the right way to fit the reel. All right, I got it wrong again. We definitely don't want this side on because you can't get it in with them both on. Live and learn. As I said, it's the first time for me, so just learning as we go. It's getting heavy now. So now we'll put our washer on. I'll disconnect this for now, remove this. That's probably the easier way to do it. Press the bearing into the housing first, then fit it on here. Again, this bearing will get done up and clamped in there, so it's not extremely tight on the reel shaft like in some other cases. Left-handed thread. Place this back in place. We're going to lift this up. A little bit fiddly, I tell you, especially with a camera in your way as well. All right, here we go. Here we go. If you have any dramas after paint, probably not a silly idea to chase a tap through there, clean it up as you before you assemble, I checked all these threads and I was pretty happy with everything. There we go. All right, I'm not going to do them up tight just yet. I'm just going to do them up loosely and move to the other side. Alright, so I've changed this bolt here out with one just a little bit longer. As you can see, sort of only getting maybe, I don't know, 8mm threaded into that brass piece, which to me isn't ideal because it's already, you know, quite soft anyhow. Whereas now we've got a good 20mm threaded in there. We just want to make sure it doesn't bottom out in here, which I'm already worked out it doesn't. Also, as you can see, this here isn't threaded onto here by a whole lot. I know it's not much, but I've just put 2 small washers on the top, and that's just allowed this to thread onto this brass piece just that little bit more. I could probably make up a neat spacer, but I don't have the time and the equipment at the moment, so it's going to be better than what it was. Now this is all to do with this reel being closer to the end of its life sort of thing, so just getting every last bit out of it, I guess. They're not cheap to replace, so yeah, we'll see how we go. Now, I would not get too carried away doing them up. You want them tight enough that they're not going to come undone, obviously, but you don't want to strip out the thread in this. I've seen a couple of them have got helicoils in them already. Not these ones, but it's only brass, so yeah, you want to be very careful of that. All right, I suppose we'll thread this little bugger on. Again, left-handed thread. All right, that little washer that goes inside here that I was saying, I think played a part for the old bearings, so the grease didn't squeeze out the end. When I tightened this up, I could hear a bit of racket coming from in there, so I pulled everything apart and flattened the washer out and put it all back together again, and everything's quiet. Now's the time to check everything and make sure it's all good. So it'll be a pain in the ass once you get it all together, then realise you've got to disassemble everything again and just to sort out one little issue. Pretty well happy with that now. Don't have a enough spanner for this, so I just use the shifting spanner. I believe that's going to be tight enough. You can always tighten it more at a later date. Might just admire this for a moment. It's awesome. You see we've got them washers in there. It's not a lot, just gets me a couple more bites on this thread on here. And the longer bolts in here, an absolute must when the reel's getting this close to the end of its life, in my opinion. You don't want to be stripping that out, it's just gonna be a headache. So we've got our locking nut cracked off, so that spring's holding it up. If we want to move the reel towards the bed knife, we need to turn it this way. So undo it, that's moving it towards the bed knife. And to move it away from the bed knife, you would loosen it off. But we need to move it closer to the bed knife, so that is what we will do. I put a little bit of moly grease in here as well, just to help that move around a bit better. All right, so we've got it cutting paper. It's taken me quite a bit. This adjustment, when you get close, you've literally got to move it. I was just using this little jigger and just like a millimeter, just a fraction, that's all it took. And once this here is tightened up, it actually moved this quite a bit. So final adjustments consisted of adjusting this and tighten this all the way up and then checking. Now the problem I'm having is I don't know about you, but that sounds like it's out of round. A little bit annoying, but nevertheless it's working. Spinning freely. What I think I might do is just keep going the way I am, and I'll give this a back lap once it's all up and running, and I reckon that'll just take that edge off and sort it out in no time. But I know it should be better than that, straight from a grind. Unfortunately it's not. Not the end of the world. Nevertheless, I'm still happy, and it's 100 times better than what it was before it went off. So, well, as heavy duty as this thing is, I found this very interesting. So I had this sitting in here while I was adjusting the reel up. Now if we take that out, crazy how much this big old heavy thing still moves. And then if we flip it upside down, nothing at all. So it just goes to show you how much these big old heavy machines still don't hold square and all that sort of thing. Just to confirm too, all the bed knot's done up tight, everything's done up tight. So I found that very, very interesting that that made so much of a difference. A little bit of contact there, but overall it feels consistent. Well, I reckon that'll probably do us today. Everything's going relatively well. Stay tuned for the next video. I think we'll do the counter shaft, followed by the front roller. If you want to see some more Supercut content, definitely feel free to like and subscribe, and we'll catch you in the next one. Cheers, legends.